Okay, so just to check to make sure we're troubleshooting the right thing here, I went ahead and mounted this into the vise and put this handle back on, put the screw back in it, and we're going to be pushing this way a little bit to see if this actually works, make sure it's not the cables on the boat. Okay, so wasn't able to do that with one hand. I went ahead and grabbed hold of the frame. I didn't want to tear anything up, make sure my vise was holding it. And I was just putting pressure to try to go forward, and it was not turning. So I'm pretty sure that we're going to be tearing this apart and re-lubing all this and see if we can't get this to work. It's freely. Okay, so I've got my workbench cleaned off a little bit here, so we're going to be looking at this. I've got some parts cleaner, and I've got different lubrications to try to figure out what's going to work best. I might actually get on the Facebook group and ask what people recommend on this. This is what I was able to lube up last week. Still feels kind of not as dried out. I'm sure there's still some old stuff because, like I said, I was working on this in the boat. So I think what I'm fixing to do is take this out and clean it with the parts cleaner. Looking at this, I think after we get through cleaning it, I think we're going to take these 4 screws out. Not sure about that one yet. And I think if we take those 4 screws out, this whole assembly here should come loose from this bracket. I'm not sure what's in here. I looked at online at some breakaway views of this. This is about as far as down as it goes, so we'll just be real careful when we're taking this off to make sure. I don't think there should be any springs or anything like that, but we'll just be careful with it, and hopefully it won't just fall apart on us. Okay, so we're taking these 4 screws out, which basically holds that in. The nuts actually go in these little holes here. I lifted it straight up, just kind of flipped it over, kind of like what we got here. It's got some old grease in it. I've kind of cleaned some of it. This little tip here, it's your neutral safety switch. It does come out. It kind of came out. Luckily I saw it. I'm going to take this loose, pull this off, and I think from here there's a ball bearing, a single ball right there. I'm thinking that all of this is old grease. It just needs to be cleaned up and new put in. But to get this apart, I think I gotta undo that screw. That's what it kind of looks like to me, so we'll see. Okay, and we're back. Ended up taking this screw out, like I said. I've been very careful with this. I haven't really put a lot of oomph in it. I don't think you need to. My thought process is it was assembled, so it can be disassembled. What I did from that part, and this is where you got to be careful, I did take a screwdriver and I put it in between this piece and this piece, and I just carefully lifted that up. It takes a couple of, you got to work around on both sides. I was able to pull this up, and this is got some old grease in it, so we'll set that over to the side. And this is where you want to be careful. As I lifted this up, You got 3 bearings and those little round caps. One of the bearings is actually in there. That's why you want to be careful lifting this up. We're going to clean all this. Got some good grease in there, and we're going to see what happens from that point. Okay, I do not remember if I showed this exactly. I showed this taken apart, but I want to do a small video on this assembly. You got these 3 little balls. Goes in this outer frame, and there's springs in there. Now I did try to remove one of the springs, and it was felt like it stuck pretty good, so we're gonna leave it. So you remove these 3 balls. Then these roller pins. You get 3 spots for these roller pins. Sorry, I'm not used to doing this with one hand trying to hold a video. I'm pretty sure this is the issue because this stuff feels like glue. And I don't think it's supposed to feel like glue. That's right. Oh my gosh, get out of there. I'm pretty sure this is our problem. Now this is keyed for orientation. This should be the down. This is the frame that hits your neutral safety switch. So we're going to lift this frame up, set it aside, and now you're looking at this. This little bearing here actually goes right there. I took that out earlier. So this is also keyed for orientation on your throttle. It's seriously stuck. That's just old grease. And then that's one solid piece, and that's what your actual throttle handle mounts to. So we're going to clean all this up. I wanted to get a video on how that was assembled. That way you guys kind of know what you're messing with. Okay, so I wanted to show a little bit about the neutral safety switch. It's got, I don't know if you can see it, I've got it soaking in that Totally Awesome degreaser. But there's a spring in there, and then there's this little cap that goes on top of it. Think of maybe a pin, probably just simple pin, but spring goes in first, then the cap. I used a Q-tip here, just kind of got some of the degreaser stuff on the Q-tip and cleaned all that out, cleaned it up pretty good, but I wanted to show you the neutral safety switch. So I wanted to show everyone kind of what I'm doing to clean this stuff. I got just a little plastic bowl. I am using Totally Awesome cleaner, like a degreaser. Letting the parts soak in there. I did use my brake parts cleaner on most of the stuff, but the stuff gets kind of harsh, so I wanted to just kind of show you guys using a toothbrush and just kind of rubbing those around. I'll be cleaning those here in a second. What I plan on doing with this, when I'm cleaning inside here, I'll probably have this in here, and I will use a Q-tip, kind of get all that old grease out where those springs are, because we're going to put new grease in that. Okay, so I've been cleaning this part, and you know how I said the springs felt pretty tight with enough soaking, and that Totally Awesome, it came out, but it's just that old grease in there is like glue. But I imagine this is all from the factory from 2003, so imagine that I will probably do this on a yearly basis. So sure would hate to get out on the water and this stuff to lock up and I can't go. So I think I've got this part pretty much ready to go. I'm letting it kind of soak. I used this O-ring pick to really get down in there and scrape. And that's just all the old grease that felt like clay. So just take your time, clean it good, get a little pick or something, get down in there to where you can get in the corners, scrape it out. And I think it's going to be about ready. I'm going to throw this part in my cleaning. And we'll keep cleaning parts. So far this is the longest part is cleaning, but those bearings and the roll pins look great. Of course, these parts are coming out good, so I don't see any physical damage. We should just be able to clean the rest of this up and have a good, nice working throttle. So I wanted to show you guys this part from cleaning. Remember that single little ball bearing? It's a plastic piece, so be careful with it. It's supposed to move. It actually goes right here, in between the frame and this assembly once it's all together. But its job is it's going to hold that one ball bearing that goes right here. But yeah, just be careful cleaning this because it is plastic. If you scrub too hard on that little clip, I imagine it could break. It is keyed to go right there. So we'll probably want to clean this area a little bit just to make sure that we'll get a good fit right there. Okay, so all the parts are cleaned. Everything looks good. I was kind of dry fitting to see what my process is going to be to reassemble this and add the new grease. So I had this on hand, which I'm sure would work. I kind of leaned towards this. It's marine grease. It's $4 at O'Reilly's, and I'm sure there's probably better stuff, Sea-Doo grease or whatever. But my thought process is I like the feel on how this has the slippery contour to it. So it is water resistance and it is compatible with lithium greases. So if I'm going to be doing this every season or once a year, just because I would hate to get out on the boat and this stuff lock up on me, I think I'd be safe to use this. And it's nothing special. We didn't have to order it online. So I'm going to assemble it using this stuff, and hopefully we will see how it works. So I will be right back with the first phases. Okay, so this is what I'm going to use to apply the grease into everything as I'm assembling it. I've got a couple of big popsicle sticks. My thought process is scraping it inside this. This is a little tool that you can get from like Hobby Lobby, craft store. It's just a clay molding tool. They were cheap, at like $1.99 for a whole set of them. I've had these for a while, so I'll be using this as well. Paper towel, for obviously wiping off excess grease. So I think my process, we will lube this side on the outside. I'm going to stick this on, and then I'll start putting grease for the springs and where the roll pins go, and we'll go from there. And then I'll probably apply grease up in here, kind of make sure this is all packed with grease good, because obviously the ball bearings is designed to go into each slot as the throttle goes forward and backwards. So we'll get started. So I used my little tool here. I took the lid off, obviously. Just put a little bit on that and applied a pretty good chunk into each hole. And now we're going to see what this does when we stick the spring in here. It feels pretty good. I'll probably go back and add a little bit more grease into this. So it looks like it's going to work pretty good. So I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so added some more grease there, and now I'm just going to take some of this grease and I'm going to apply it where the roll pins go on the inside. I'm going to be pretty generous with it. Make sure I get enough in there. I'd rather have too much and maybe clean up a little bit afterwards than not enough and for it to go dry in the middle of the season. I'll do the same thing, leave the outside of this, and we'll assemble this. Okay, so I've got everything kind of lubed up where the roll pins go. Don't forget this is the bottom. This is where the neutral safety switch can drives off of. This is going to be looking at you whenever you have the unit assembled in your hand. And this half groove for this roll pin goes right here. It's at the bottom. Okay, so I've got this assembled, and I was putting the roll pins in. It was kind of squishing some of the grease out. So I was smoothing it out with my fingers. Then I just kind of hard to use this tool when you're dealing with the little ball bearings. So I just kind of dipped them in the grease, got them set up there, and packed some grease on it to where it wouldn't fall. Next, I will lube all this inside here, and I should be flipping this like this. This being the down section. Okay, so I've got this assembled. My first attempt wasn't that great. One of the ball bearings, so it goes like this, that I had sitting on this piece ended up in here, so I had to kind of take it back apart, and then I ended up setting the ball bearings in the little divots on this piece. And so if you get this right, you should be able to have a little spring to it, because that means each ball bearing is in the hole where the spring is. So you should be able to push that down a little bit and have a little bit of spring action. Okay, so I've got this flipped over, the centerpiece is in. I went ahead and packed that full of grease. This is the next piece. This goes to the, this is your throttle cable connection. That's where your reverse gate hooks up, so that should go in there. We'll put that screw in it and go from there. Okay, so we've got this piece on. Put that screw in there. This looks like I added just a little bit more grease in there. Can't forget to put grease in there because that's where the ball bearing goes. This piece right here catches that little ball bearing. It goes right here, so the ball bearing divot goes towards you, and that goes in. And we'll put this piece on there. We're getting close. So I took a little bit of grease, smeared it on this piece, and also put it on the inside here. This is a moving piece, so I wanted to make sure we had that nice and moved up. I also just put a thin coat all over that. We're going to drop that ball bearing probably in here, maybe in there. We'll figure out which way is the easiest way. But this unit is ready to be bolted back to that unit. So I ended up putting the that little bearing that was on the black plastic piece on this, and then I took this, flipped it up, and as I was looking through the hose and just carefully set it down, and I believe we caught everything in the right place. We should be able to come through with the bolts and nuts in there, and we'll tighten this thing up. Okay, so moment of truth. We've got it all assembled. I'll put it back in my vise. I'll put the handle on, so we're going to test it and see if this all worked. So that is very smooth. As you can see, the throttle and the reverse gate levers are moving really nice. So I think we're good. Go back to the boat with it. Okay, so got the safety switch back in. I did put a little bit of grease up in there for the safety switch. It felt good. We're going to take all these parts back to the boat, and I'll work on the reverse process of getting this thing back where it needs to be.